My, oh my, wake the kids, get the neighbors. This is an extravaganza you won't want to miss. We have an emergency Farsi show today for you this afternoon as the Philadelphia Eagles. Wow, Howie Roseman has done what we all thought he might do leading up to the season at some point in the preseason, at some point in the training camp, some point in the offseason. He has finally traded Jalen Reagor. Here is the atom bomb from Adam Schefter, who dropped this on Twitter just about 20 or 30 minutes ago. The Eagles are sending wide receiver Jalen Reagor to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a 2023 seventh-round pick and a 2024 conditional fourth-round pick that could flip to a fifth-round pick, unfortunately, due to certain statistical marks that have yet to be made. Sources tell ESPN. It was later confirmed by the Inquirer and Inquirer.com's Jeff McClain. But Howie Roseman has continued now his best offseason ever. Now, as you might grade it out, the Eagles winning the Super Bowl turned out to be a pretty nice offseason as well, considering you had to be the next man up throughout that offseason and throughout that regular season. Howie Roseman just stacked the deck, and every single signing that he brought in ended up being an absolute home run for this football team. No better example than Nick Foles and what he brought to the table being the MVP of the Super Bowl, as we all know. But guys like Chris Long contributed. In-season trades, like bringing in Jay Ajayi, ended up being a home run. Off-season acquisitions like LeGarrette Blount ended up being a home run. That was a pretty good offseason, but just in terms of grading the paper and the paper alone, this is, without question, Howie Roseman's best offseason ever as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles, as a guy that ran that front office and a guy that is running that front office. On tomorrow's Farsi show, by the way, for people that might be joining us right now, on tomorrow's Farsi show, we'll be joined by RJ Ochoa, who writes for Blogging the Boys and also does a podcast with Brandon Lee Gouton as part of SB Nation and all that. He is admiring and calling the Eagles front office and what Howie Roseman has done to be elite, an elite NFL front office. I know that Howie has made his enemies here in Philadelphia in the past, but I can't see how you look at this offseason and not be completely wowed by what Howie Roseman has done. Now with Jalen Reagor being moved on from, with him going to the Minnesota Vikings in this trade, it's kind of a funny thing. He trades J.J. Arcega-Whiteside to Seattle, who later gets cut, but for like 2 weeks he was a teammate of DK Metcalf, who we all compared him to here in Philadelphia for the longest time. How do you miss DK Metcalf? And now Howie goes and turns around and trades Jalen Reagor to be teamed up with the guy that we all were ripping Howie for not drafting. And that, of course, is Justin Jefferson, who went at 21, 22 in that draft when Reagor went at 21. Here's Reagor's numbers in the NFL over his 2 years with the Eagles. Not exactly anything worth bragging about here with Pro Football Reference. But Jalen Reagor, of course, just comes up with 64 catches over those 2 years and 695 yards receiving and just 3 touchdowns. I decided to go back and see who was beating Jalen Reagor out from that draft class and that draft class alone. And it turns out it's just about everybody is beating Jalen Reagor. Justin Jefferson there very much at the top of the list. CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins up there. These are just guys from his draft class. He ranks all the way down there at the bottom. I believe that's 18 all the way down there. There are running backs in the NFL that have more catches than him. 3 of them to be exact. It has not been a career worth bragging about, as we all know, for Jalen Reagor here in Philadelphia. But here's what I do appreciate finally. Just yesterday, we had heard Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni talk about why Jalen Reagor was still on this team. Why keep him as your 5th wide receiver behind a pretty stacked wide receiving core, as we all know at this point? Why keep him on this roster? And Howie went on about, oh, man, it's funny. I went and talked to some of our scouts. Some of our scouts told me, you know, this guy is the first guy in the building. He's been there every day. He has been working his butt off this entire time. Jalen Reagor, that's why he deserves a spot on this roster. With lo and behold, you go and trade him for 2 picks. One being a 7th round pick, and the other being maybe, if things work out, a 4th round pick. If things work out for the Eagles' favor, obviously. So now what do you do with the Eagles? You finally admitted this mistake that a lot of us were screaming right there, then and there at that time. We're screaming that it was a mistake. Justin Jefferson sitting right there. This wasn't like Cam Jurgens and Nakobe Dean, where Cam Jurgens went and then Nakobe Dean went next, like in the next pick. This was an example, Nakobe Dean went in the 3rd round. This was an example of the guy that everybody wanted went in the exact next pick. It's unbelievable how that went down. And yeah, sure, you try to hold out hope for a young guy that's going to pan out, that he's eventually it's going to work out for him at the NFL level. The only time Jalen Reagor looked like a guy that belonged in the NFL was when the Eagles were using him as a running back. And that looked like, oh, you know what, maybe a couple of jet sweeps with this guy that could work out. Not the case. With everything that Howie Roseman has done in this offseason, I am just blown away. And this is coming from someone who has not been the biggest Howie fan, as most of you have not been the biggest Howie fan. But this is a great move by him. And it finally admits a mistake. You're not holding on for another year. You finally move on from the Jalen Reagor debacle here in Philadelphia. You move on from another failed wide receiver here, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is certainly one of those guys as well. Now, all of a sudden, you have Devontae Smith, who's going to be heading up the young aspect of the wide receiving core. You have more of a veteran presence here with A.J. Brown, obviously, and what he brings to the table. You know what you're getting from Zach Pascal. You know what you're getting from Quez Watkins with that deep threat and the ability to take the top off that defense. Who do you move into your number 5 spot? My vote has gone to Deon Cain. It has been all about Deon Cain since he has been here. He's a guy that has a history with Nick Sirianni already, considering he was drafted by the Colts while Nick Sirianni was the offensive coordinator there under Frank Reich. That's where I think the Eagles need to go if they haven't already. At the time I just put this out here for the emergency show, they have not yet named the person to go up next to take over that roster spot. They brought in a quarterback earlier in the day, so that's great. They have their 3rd quarterback, but they still have to make a decision on the wide receiver spot. Who will be their 5th wide receiver? I know a lot of people want to see a guy like Devin Allen possibly take over that role. I know some other people might want to see Kobe come in and take that responsibility. He's a guy that they looked at early on in training camp that had great returner potential. Same thing with Devin Allen, but I think as a guy that could come in and be your 5th wide receiver and make sure that he's fighting and make sure that he's also playing with a more physical mindset. He's 6'2", but he plays like he's 6'4". I think that guy is Deon Cain. I know it's a great story with Devin Allen with the track background and the hurdler, the Olympic athlete and all that. That's a great story. But I think the guy that would best suit the Eagles right now is a guy like Deon Cain. I loved him in the preseason. His ability to get on the same page with Gardner Minshew as quickly as they were able to do that, I think only shows you that he'll be able to get on that same page with Jalen Hurts if called upon during the regular season. That's where my vote goes. But it is a stamp of approval for me, for Howie Roseman, for what he was able to do throughout this entire offseason. This might be one of his last moves in terms of shipping someone away, not really getting a whole lot in return, but it's still a good return considering I don't think anybody in the NFL is looking at Jalen Reagor right now. Oh, yeah, totally still worth that 1st-round potential. Still a guy that could reach that full potential. I think people in the NFL know what Jalen Reagor is at this point, and that's why you're not getting even more back for him. But to get 2 picks, one of them a 7th, fine, and then the other, an opportunity to still get a 4th-round pick out of this, that's an incredible move by Howie Roseman. Yes, it's true. I wish he didn't make the move. I wish he didn't make the pick in the first place. I was all about Justin Jefferson at the time. Still am all about Justin Jefferson. You can't rewrite history. You can only admit when you've made a mistake. And now 2 years into it, he's not letting it leak into a 3rd year of having a mistake like Jalen Reagor at the wide receiver position. So thrilled that it's happened. And then you think about all the moves that he's made through this offseason. We could go from Hassan Reddick. We could go through the draft. We could go through this pick as we have already, or this move already as we have, and most notably bringing in, most recently, before this move, of course, bringing in C.D. Deuce himself. It's been a hell of an offseason for Howie Roseman. Had to spike the football, had to do an emergency show, just react to it. But Jalen Reagor finally out after 2 years here in Philadelphia. Howie's offseason continues. Make sure you guys check out the Farzy Show, of course, when we're on live 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. every morning. It's brought to you by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, of course. And make sure you guys hit the promo code. Check that out below. Use promo code Farzy at manscaped.com to get yourself some Manscaped merchandise at 20% off. I'm thrilled with it. Hope you guys are as well. I see there's a couple of comments I might want to hit real quick. See what you guys are up to here in the comments. And nope, everything just crapped out on me. So that's the way life goes. Couldn't be more happy with the way things are going here for the Eagles. Very excited to see what they're going to be bringing to the table. Oh, here we go. WDK05. Let's go. That's a fine icon out of you. Kevin, you join me every single morning. God bless you for that. You're our first commenter every day. I appreciate that. But Eagles make the trade. Here it is one more time for people that might not have seen it yet across social media. Adam Schefter, later confirmed by Inquirer.com's Jeff McClain, that the Eagles, in fact, have made a move that we've all been waiting for them to make, and that's trading Jalen Reagor to the Minnesota Vikings for a 7th-round pick and a 4th-round pick. 4th-round pick in next year's draft, possibly downgrades to a 5th-round pick. But excited that this move finally happened. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow morning for the Farzy Show in its entirety. Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., 6 to 7 every day. Go Birds! Congrats to Howie Roseman. Hell of an offseason. Keep them coming, baby. Thanks for watching.